This podcast includes graphic depictions of true crime cases and may contain explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Hey, this is Robin.
This is Jackie.
And this is Amanda.
And you are listening to We Saw the Devil, a podcast dedicated to horror, true crime, and all things macabre. If you want to follow us between shows, don't forget to check us out online. You can go to our website at www.wesawthedevil.com. You can follow us on Instagram at We Saw the Devil Podcast or on Twitter at We Saw the Devil. And if you want to follow specific co-hosts' social media, you can find the links to those on our website as well. Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of We Saw the Devil, recording March 19th at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we have a lot of updates. It has been a crazy week. We Saw the Devil went to Rexburg, and Jackie and Amanda just got back from Rexburg, Idaho. We have the new judge information, a lot of documents relating to Ian Pawloski this week as well. Also, just late this evening, within the last couple hours, a lot of breaking news. And Amanda and Jackie, what else do we have today?
Well, yeah, broken statues from earthquakes.
We have a new judge. We have obviously some information about our Rexburg trip. We have new stories and
Text messages.
Text messages, yeah.
We love text messages.
All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping. As you may have seen on our social media, feel free. We would love if you would support us on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/WeSawTheDevil. For those of you who subscribe to us, so Ian, Iris, Shawna, Derek, thank you so much for supporting us. For those of you who do, you'll be getting an exclusive episode with our full experience in Rexburg, as well as some really cool swag and gear. That'll be coming out this week. For those of you who are considering supporting, definitely check out the tiers and maybe you'll find one right for you. But we'd really appreciate it. As always, you can find us at We Saw the Devil on Twitter and Facebook, and We Saw the Devil Podcast on Instagram. So, going forward, let's just go ahead. It's going to be a busy, lengthy episode, you guys. So we're going to start with the technical aspect and the changes on the case. Later on, we will discuss the Rexburg trip and Amanda and Jackie's experiences there. So let's go ahead and start with the information with the judge. So if you guys recall, on our last episode, the defense requested a new judge. Basically, that the current judge recuse himself for conflict of interest. Various reasons they could have requested that, but they are allowed to request it, and one judge to be disqualified. So the judge ended up basically recusing himself, and Michelle Radford Mallard is the new judge, and she'll be the judge for the preliminary hearing on May 7th and 8th. And from what people have said, she is no nonsense and down to business.
Right. I've heard the same thing of people talking about him. Or about her, excuse me. So I'm happy that it was changed.
I actually think it's really interesting that they chose her over the previous judge. So it's going to be really exciting to see how that develops.
I'm wondering if they wanted, to kind of playing the lottery of judges to see if they would get someone maybe a tiny bit more sympathetic. And then they were kind of like, oh, shit.
No, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know her history, like her judging history, I guess.
Multiple people have said she's extremely fair. Very, kind of an even-keeled, even-tempered, very fair, but very no-nonsense. So I have a feeling that if they were planning on getting a new judge to get her bail lowered, that's probably not the outcome that they were hoping for.
Right. And the original one, from what I was reading about him, a lot of people were saying that he was the nicest of the judges.
Oh, well, that's interesting. He did seem really nice when we saw him. He seemed like a nice
we were
person.
there. We were there during his own dismissal.
You were like, bye, Judge.
So the next piece is Zulema. So our dear friend Zulema, who is married to the dearly departed Alex Cox. Zulema filed in probate court, which I don't think any of us expected that, to be honest.
No, and just we have the probate document. It is a little convoluted, though, and hard to kind of understand what she's even going for.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, even, web sleuths and whatnot, no one really kind of understands. So basically, did Alex have any property? Did he have anything other than...
Well, the amount he moved around and, followed Lori, it doesn't sound like he owned any property, so I don't quite understand what she's going for. But yes, there is probate court information available online now. It has the case number, everything going on with it, but it's hard to understand what she's actually going for.
Yeah, it's very much not clear. So,
and it looks like it started February 4th, if I understand it correctly, when she created the order. So we'll see more. And just kind of speaking of Zulema, something that I'll take away from Rexburg and our dear friends in Rexburg, I was able to locate her LinkedIn and learn a little bit more about her. She is a life coach and spiritual teacher, and she does, it looks like coaching, like dating coaching, parenting coaching, and she owns something called The Loving Room. I tried to Google it, and it doesn't quite come up, but in her LinkedIn, it talks about everything she does and how she does free 30-minute consultations and introductory packages.
Yes.
So we should do it.
You should, Jackie, get on it.
Oh man, yeah, she does sessions in person, telephone, and Skype. So you are in luck.
Mm-hmm. And she does have a handful of great reviews on LinkedIn. Yeah. So still don't quite understand where she came from and what she's doing, but just trying to get a little bit more insight on her, because all I know about her is she's been married a handful of times. We don't know how her and Alex technically got together, and we don't know anything other than she's going after something of Alex's now after his death. So Zulema is still a big mystery to me. She is, and her most recent experience is called Emotion Code Practitioner, which if you look up emotion code, it's this entire new age thing. And it says the premise of the emotion code is that the energy of past emotions can literally become trapped in your body, affecting your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So basically the trapped emotions could be keeping you in patterns of discomfort, sorrow, failure, and heartbreak. So
I need her in my life right now.
Right. Like some of the books and articles I've read, it's meditation, Reiki, laying of hands, music, which all of this will actually come into play later in another piece. But yeah, Zulema is a very interesting character. I do believe I read today that she had 5 other previous husbands as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know how many, but I know she's been married a lot. Her and Lori have a little bit of, similarities there.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
Right.
It is impressive.
How many are still alive is the real question.
Right.
I have not gone through that rabbit hole yet.
Zulema is still the mystery of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's get back into the nitty gritty and talk about the initial discovery disclosure. So basically items related to Lori's charges currently submitted by the prosecutor's office.
There was a lot. There's a lot of things. They don't specify what each item is yet. But even today, with some of the stuff rolling out, it kind of explains what a couple of these letters are. Do you want to go ahead and read a few of them that they have?
Basically, the document, it was electronically filed on March 16th, so not long ago. There are a series, it's lettered A through Q. Mm-hmm. So this is what the prosecutors have and gave the defenders, so Lori's attorneys. So this is basically what the prosecutors submitted in the discovery phase, right? So right now they're in the discovery phase of give us all of your evidence so both sides can be aware, of what the other one has.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll go through a few of these. So A, unredacted Rexburg Police Department incident report. B, redacted Rexburg Police Department incident report on a jump drive. C, Sydney Woodbury Shank's interview. Now, who is Sydney Shank?
I don't know yet. I haven't been able to find anything on who the Sydney person is quite yet.
So if any of you, again, we do this every show, we are always open to more information if you know it. So if you know who Sydney Shank is, please email us at wesawthedevil@gmail.com. And D, Jack and Sheila Daybell interview.
Mm-hmm. That's his parents, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. And if you look at their Facebook, they definitely look alike.
Yes. That interview appears to have been done. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Amanda, is that the date? December 18th, 2019?
That's what I'm going to assume, just because the rest of the dates seem to make sense. So, yeah.
And then I'll do E, Yellowstone security video.
So it was a security video. I knew it was security something, but just want to say that from before.
Seems like there's a few.
Mm-hmm.
of Yellowstone, which is really awesome. Idaho Falls airport security video. Now that's something too. I haven't seen it.
No, that hasn't been released yet. But that is a very small airport, so they probably saw everything going on there.
They know. Natalie and Ian Pawloski interview. That's kind of cool. So, which is, going to be very, interesting because Ian Pawloski seems to be a big character this week.
Yes. Yeah. As of today, he has submitted a lot of things that we're going to review, but I think he's going to be a bigger player than I thought before.
And it's also interesting how people's names keep getting misspelled in all of these legal documents, and it's driving me absolutely batshit.
Someone needs to call the recorder and be like, excuse me, please proof edit.
I've heard Bordeaux and I've heard Boudreaux, and I'm pretty sure it's Boudreaux based off of at least, even Facebook profiles I've been able to find. So I'm going to keep saying Boudreaux until otherwise, changed. And
then we have Melani Boudreaux's interview and Larry and Kay Woodcock's interview. Another Melani Boudreaux interview, and then letter L, which is the Ian Pawloski recordings.
Yes, and this document came out before Ian Pawloski's other items today that came out. So we'll explain a little bit more about his jump drive later. But I was like, what recordings? What is he doing now? It's going to be insane.
It is. And then we have the Storage Plus security video, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, this video came out the day after we recorded our last episode, which showed, it was basically an enhanced video from Idaho News, where it pretty much clearly, according to most people, showed that it was Chad in the storage locker. Right. And then as they walk out of the storage facility, Chad grabs Lori's ass.
Yep, and that was a big thing because at that time in October, Tammy was still alive. So it just shows that their relationship started earlier than before the passing of their significant others. N is 571 RPD photographs on a jump drive. And then the rest look like they're body cams. And one's from Officer Kellen Witten. Oh, and two from Detective David Stubb. So P and Q are both him.
I love that we're in the era of body cams. It just makes so much easier for them when it comes to interviews and being eyewitnesses for court and stuff.
Yeah.
You would think so, but then they have Alex Cox's body cam, and he was as shady as you could fucking get, and he was still walk free.
Right? Well, and when I was watching that the first time, and that's one of the first introductions that I had to this case, is those body cams. And I wanted to shake the officers, that guy just killed someone. Act like he just killed someone. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what's going on. I know that Chandler and I think Gilbert PD, one of the two, have been meeting with the FBI in Salt Lake City. I still haven't heard any updates from that or what went on over the last weekend, but hopefully that comes up soon too.
It's been very tight-lipped, and there's also a lot of mass speculation that Tammy Daybell's autopsy results are back, and that's also there because there were members of the Springville police department there as well. So that kind of does indicate that. But yeah, we have Gilbert. You are correct. It was Gilbert, Chandler, Rexburg. I mean, people and FBI from all over everywhere pretty much went to Salt Lake City to meet on this. So
no, they went to see the statue. Right. Okay. Because the earthquake.
So another big thing this week is a court filing by Brandon Boudreaux in response to a motion by Melani Boudreaux regarding their custody dispute, right? So Melani's gone to court and, Brandon, so on and so forth. So Brandon says that this was written by Melani's new husband, Ian Pawloski, after he met with law enforcement officers. This document was found on a computer belonging to Ian that he supposedly gave to his ex-wife, Natalie.
Right. And what it has is kind of an outline of what Melani essentially believes in, Melani, Lori, and Chad, and his understanding of it. So this is probably his takeaways of what they believe in. And then after that is a letter of everything that he's gone through.
So we're going to read off just a couple. We will put a link to this particular document on the website, on the show page, this show's page, as well as on social media. But we'll go through a couple of them. So number one is multiple probations, which multiple probations, a probation is basically a life cycle, a lifetime. So with multiple probations, you have a minimum of 9 mortal lives to become exalted. You can sign a light or dark contract. You can choose to be reborn, and the veil grows thinner.
Yeah, it grows thinner as you're reborn. Now, one thing I've noticed too, and people have been posting a lot of Chad's writings from his books. I think I've already told you guys this. I refuse to buy his books. But when they're posting them, I do read a little bit of it. And he says almost dying left him with one foot in the spirit world and one in the physical world. So I think that that's the veil that they're talking about too. And his is just completely gone because he almost died.
And my favorite is that multiple sealings are possible, but males can choose either one true spouse or have many.
Well, lucky them. No.
All right, so number 2, translation. Now, first of all, I'd like to point out that if you've been keeping up with this story, all of these items, for the most part, have been mentioned at some point in communication, either between Chad and Lori, Chad's books, police, reports, so on and so forth. So I highly recommend checking out this document because it gives you more of a background on this terminology that they're frequently using. So number 2 is translation. Translated beings cannot die, cannot reproduce, do not need sleep or food, and do not feel sorrow of the world. They can get injured, but their healing is accelerated and it's never fatal.
What makes me nervous is people that think that they are translated beings. What the hell are they doing? You know,
they're jumping over canyons on motorcycles.
Yeah.
Right?
They're living life large, and here we are, the simple puny
That
humans.
is just scary thinking that you cannot die. Just think of, the things that they may be doing.
Well, I mean...
So it says it's done in multiple phases and tests, usually lasting 3 days. Upon completing the last phase, the Lord appears to the translated. And then there's like a subcategory and it says physical. Can be any physical ailment from sexual desire to disease to severe fatigue. Or it can be emotional. Any emotional, mental ailment, spiritual. And then a great test of faith, a time of darkness and doubt, sexual. And then a possible new phase discovered as husband and wife become more united sexually, possibly increasing power and vibration.
Ooh.
And just so you guys know, there are 50 dark translated human beings. And then underneath that, it says Detectives Hope and Hermosillo. Is it Cilio? Hermosillo?
Yeah.
Pardon me if I'm butchering that. Have both been identified as such. And guys, who are those 2 detectives?
They're the ones handling the case, right?
Yeah, they're the ones who went to the townhouses and did the initial call.
Well, they're evil.
Of course they're evil.
I've been called a dark bean,
Yeah,
darkling person. I wonder if I'm one of them. Am I one of the 50? Are
Yeah.
you?
Now, also finishing up translation. So the dark beings, right? They can work under the direction of Satan, Lucifer, and Cain. So again, keep mental note. Dark translated humans work under the direction of Satan, Lucifer, and Cain. Right? Keep that in mind. 3, stats. Vibration. Vibration is an indication of one's spiritual strength. Above a certain level, garments are no longer necessary. Fuck yeah, no clothes. And then higher vibrations can help to thin the veil a little. And then D, libido, which is 1 to 100 and an indication of your sex drive. And then C, trust level, indication of how much someone can be trusted. And then D, light and dark percentage, indication of how much light and darkness dwells in one's body.
This is the most interesting Dungeons and Dragons character sheet I've ever read. I'm just like, who came up with this? This is pretty elaborate, man. I'm like, okay, what are your stats? What is your dice roll on this?
Right. And then it takes 3 days. All I thought of is American Horror Story when Coven, they had to do the things to be the Supreme.
Yeah.
And I was
trials.
like, yep, all the trials. This is what they're doing. They're the Supreme.
I'm really upset that they're not being you have to conduct electricity through your body efficiently like an Invader Zim.
I mean, that's
Raise
coming.
the dead.
No.
Yeah.
So number 4 is zombies. And we've heard a lot about zombies this week as well. So human bodies that have had their original spirits forced from them and have been possessed by either a demon, disembodied spirit, or a worm or slug.
Whoa, what?
So
Wait.
that is a zombie. Now,
Would you like to come in for a cup of tea with me and the missus?
so spirits can be pushed from their bodies during traumatic events or deadly injury. And then the third thing is spirits pushed out are trapped in limbo as the body they've tied to is still living but cannot be occupied by them anymore. So like their spirit is no longer there, their body is still here, but they're not there. Spirits trapped in limbo cannot progress to a new mortal life and cannot re-enter their existing body. The only way to move forward is to await death of their current possessed body. So they can't get their body back. They have to be killed, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yep. This is an illegal action against the heavenly law performed by the possessor.
Wait, so are they lawful good or
No.
I want to know who's rolling the dice.
Well, I think it's just like when they talk about like this the zombies have to be, gone in order for what God's will or whatever. So I've been reading a lot on that this week. There's a few other documents and a few things we'll talk about later, but zombies plays a big role in what might have happened to the kids. Robin, you'll have to help me with this if I'm not remembering correctly, but didn't Melani say something about like they lost the light in their eyes or something weird?
Yes, Melanie said something to the effect of sometimes, kids are light and then sometimes they just go to dark.
And that makes me think zombie.
Yeah, well, I believe in one of the police reports that Charles Vallow said when he was still alive that Lori had called the children zombies.
Yeah, and well, there's more in Ian's little found document as well that we'll touch on in a little bit, but that plays a big role in the case, I think. So there's also teleportation.
So we have teleportation. So when translated beings are needed, they may, with the Lord's permission, teleport to the necessary location to perform their assigned duties. And then there are light and dark portals. Physical objects all around us have ties to the spiritual world and can open portals or gateways of both light and darkness through which light and dark entities may pass.
And that's where all the portal jokes come from lately.
Yes. Yes. And then we have Church of the Firstborn and the 144,000. So mentions of the 144,000 have pretty much been circulating since the beginning of this case. Mm-hmm. And then Chad Daybell sent Lori the list of missions that he wanted to accomplish with her. So the Church of the Firstborn, this is going back to the document, right, from Ian Pawloski. Mm-hmm. A says, the Church of the Firstborn is a higher organization and God's church in its truest form on earth. And then the subsections, the mysteries of God are revealed to those who have become a part of it. Terrestrial blessings and locations begin to be revealed to members. Doctrines add to, but do not replace, those of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Again, I find that line also to be one of the most interesting, right? Because the group as a whole, right, straddles traditional Mormonism and then has, kind of these out there really odd beliefs that most traditional LDS members would not in any way accept.
Right.
So it says doctrines add to, but do not replace, those of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then we have the prophet of the Mormon Church presides over the general congregation, while others are called specifically to run the Church of the Firstborn. And then there are multiple branches throughout the world. And then in regards to the 144,000 are called to bring to pass all signs of the second coming of Christ. And there are multiple groups specializing in different powers and activities. And then we have the very first mention of Chad and Lori.
Yep.
Chad and Lori's group specializes in healing and music. Again, this blew my mind and gave me legit chills when I read it. Chad and Lori's group specializes in healing and music. And who does that make you think of, like, immediately with healing?
Zulema?
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
So, and music. And then you have, I've never heard of this before, Patriarchal Order of the Holy Melchizedek.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Priesthood, which is a higher priesthood bestowed to Chad by Peter, James, and John. Apparently, they're just cool like that.
Yeah, of course.
And then we have priesthood keys and authority bestowed on women. And then it says women may perform all the same blessings and ordinances as men.
Well, finally we get something in this.
Right? And then likewise, you have the light and the good churchhood. You also, according to point 8 under this, the dark church and priesthood. And that states, Satan is God's exact opposite. Lucifer has a body, was once an apostle and fell. And then Cain was the first dark being to be translated in this creation and walks the earth with 50 dark translated beings to prevent and delay the Lord's second coming.
Right. So I'm so happy that the detectives are part of these 50 in the entire world.
Right. Just only the 2, though.
Yes.
The 2 detectives who are investigating the the missing children.
Mm-hmm. And it goes into it in his letter after this as well.
And then spiritual gifts and powers. People can manipulate the elements to do the Lord's will and bring to pass the signs of his second coming. Mm-hmm. And then the statement, if you can imagine it, it's real. So this is so bizarre. So it says, if you can imagine it, it's real. Every fantastic idea is a reality somewhere. And then it gives examples. Magic, wizards, sorcerers, witches, spells and curses, and Harry Potter are real and require great focused will to use.
You know what? I'm bought in now.
I'm fucking bought. Sign me up. When does my owl get here?
Well, you pick your owl. But your letter is what you're referring to. I'll help you out.
Yeah, I mean like the owl bringing my letter. Thanks. Supernatural creatures and dragons, giants, fairies, centaurs, etc.
Their world sounds fantastic now.
It doesn't it? Like, I'm literally like signed up. Like, okay, so I don't know how many of you are familiar with Tori Amos, the very famous musician, but she swears that fairies are real and that she's seen them, she's spoken to them, and now I'm like, do you know Chad Bill?
I thought we were the only society that didn't think fairies were real. I'm pretty sure a lot of other countries believe in them, but that's different. My favorite though is number 11, the spiritual weapons. So I can't wait to get my spiritual weapon on. And
there are dark and light weapons. So weapons that cannot be perceived by celestial beings that injure and scar the spirit. B says cords. Like the second point of that is cords. So ties to people and things, both light and dark, that influence us. And spiritual healing. Healing malachite solution and balm. Malachite is said to have healing properties and then administered by calling on it a blessing.
See, so, and again, this is Ian's perspective. So after hearing Melani go on and on about all of this, this is what he was able to jot down. So as far as like the wizards, sorcerers, witches, all of that, Harry Potter, I feel like that's him going, you know what, if everything's real, fucking Harry Potter's real. You know, like, I don't know if maybe that was a little embellished.
I don't understand.
I mean, I hope it's not. I've always wanted Harry Potter to be real, so.
I don't know what it was, but it's very, very, very bizarre. And I mean, this totally sounds like a religion that I would sign up for.
Right?
But
at least the last part.
Here's my question. So, as we stated earlier, Brandon Boudreaux got a hold of this, right? Via Natalie, Ian Pawloski's ex-wife. Ian gave her this computer. Why would he outline this? Just, you know, he mentions how he thought it was weird as hell.
I think he was just trying to, like, keep track of what his new bride thought of. So after this, all of this that we just read, there's almost like a letter in a sense, or just like, it's not an outline anymore. It's actual paragraphs. I mean, just to kind of talk a little bit about it, I think it explains a bit. He just says, when Melani began sharing all of these things with me, I tried to keep an open mind. I had met her 4 days previous, but felt very comfortable around her. If someone 4 days in starts telling you Harry Potter's real, it's time to leave.
And centaurs?
Yeah, but you can't criticize them because some people believe in this.
Well, I mean, sure. But the way that I feel like he's the one that's saying, like, you know, the wizards, sorcerers, supernatural creatures, dragons, you know, all of it. I know there are some that believe, fairies and all of that, but I have not had anyone religious-wise tell me Harry Potter is real yet. So, And then basically he says the next paragraph is about meeting Chad and Lori and how he didn't get a bad impression of them.
Yeah.
They just seemed different. So just odd. Here's where it starts getting weird, though. When the third paragraph, he says,
Oh, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, he's just saying how it just feels like it's something out of a Dungeons and Dragons meal. And I want to know how many times he's played to actually know that it's like that. I mean...
Right? I laughed out loud when I read that part. So many of them were ripped straight out of a Dungeons and Dragons manual. Between the stats, accounts of dark and light weapons, and the words spoken in blessings, it sounded like someone had created a tabletop RPG based on the Bible. And that is probably the best description I've seen of all of this.
I feel that way about a lot of things, though.
I wish that we could just turn that sentence into the title of this episode.
I actually...
Done. Well, the fourth paragraph talks about, though, and this is what I guess kind of got him a little fearful, too, is Melani began to share that she feared for the lives of 2 of her children based off of a dream where they came to her. So she started getting concerned about her kids. And that's a little scary, too. I mean, she was away from them. So it sounds like... I mean, as we progress through this, it sounds like it was all Lori's idea for her to just leave her kids, and that she actually wanted to be a mother and wanted them back, but she was just following Lori so closely.
Yeah.
Now, this is a fun wedding night that they had, it sounds like. Did you?
Oh, Lord.
So he does say, we married faster than any sane couple would, but we both felt that it was right. Sure. I mean, people have gotten married faster. I get it. Like, sure. But... this is the fun part. So on our wedding night, she began to elaborate on the ideas that she shared earlier about her children coming to her. She explained zombies and her fears about what Lori and Chad stated concerning the original spirits being caught in limbo until the body's death. She stated that Brandon had become possessed by a demon or another dark entity sometime after June of this year. So... Chad and Lori are like, oh no, he's possessed. He's a zombie. We need to kill him, right? Yep. That's what I interpret from it. It does say, too, that she still loved Brandon and that she would never wish ill upon him. So it sounds like she's like halfway bought in to Chad and Lori. And again, this is his account. Who knows why he wrote this? And I said,
who knows if he did write it?
Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
what I speculate.
And I said that before we started recording, just like, this is the perfect document to get him out of anything, that he is so innocent and Melanie's so innocent. It's like, how authentic is this? But then also, I understand he could be a normal guy that just got, married to the wrong person. So who knows? And there's no way of us finding that out right now, if he's authentic and okay, or is he part of it and this is just his way out? Who knows?
I want to know when this document was submitted, more importantly, because I don't know, I think it's kind of odd.
Well,
odd timing on some of the verbiage used.
Well, she took possession of the computer, and it has the date on that. According to Justin Lum, that's Fox 10 Phoenix, he spoke with Natalie Pawloski, ex-wife of Ian Pawloski. She says she found this document on the computer he brought her to 16.
February 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she believes
cool.
Ian wrote this letter. So, I mean, if you're married to someone you kind of know, was married to someone, I should say, she would probably know the way that he, talks and how it sounds like his writing, I guess. But anyone could have written this. That's true. But I'm sure just the writing technique, she probably, sees Ian in it.
So Ian follows up the wedding night, which sounded really fascinating, and said, this is where things started becoming concerning to me. Melani shared the idea that Chad and Lori could have directed Alex to take a shot at Brandon.
And he calls him Al.
Yeah, he calls him Al, which is really weird, but because I haven't seen anyone else reference Alex as Al. He said it wasn't anything that she was sure about. The concern began when she was called into the Gilbert Police Department and asked about Chad, Lori, and Alex after the attempt on Brandon's life. She was later given the impression that the bullet needed to move 5 inches so as not to hit Brandon. Initially, it sounded to me like this was told to her by Chad. So already in this document, and as we'll continue, it seems like Ian, if he's the author of this, keeps trying to literally pen everything on Chad, Lori, and possibly Alex. But my question being is, so with the Jeep, right? Let's just kind of rewind back to Brandon Boudreaux and the attempt on his life.
Yeah.
He saw the gun come out of the back seat of the Jeep Wrangler, and someone had to have been driving it.
Right.
So we know that Alex was likely in the back seat. And I do believe that in a further document, he said that he recognized Alex. Like the private investigator eventually said that it was Alex who had the gun.
I believe
according
so.
to Brandon.
I believe that's
Brandon.
in some document. There's so many documents now.
I know. So apparently Melani, per this document, shared the idea that Chad and Lori could have directed Alex to do this.
Right. Well, and a lot of people have been saying that Alex, and I think it's in here too somewhere, that Alex pretty much would do anything for to please like his tasks with the Lord. So if he thought that that was a zombie and that's going to get in God's way, like, no, we got to take care of this zombie.
You know, speculation and personal opinion. I've actually never really thought about Alex in the context of religion. I've always just kind of viewed him as like a shitty hitman.
A pawn.
Yeah, a pawn. Oh, I love my sister so much, whatever way, and I'll do anything for her. But apparently, he was just as devout as the others.
Right. I mean, according to this. And again, we don't know who wrote it. But yeah, so that's when they talk about the shot at Brandon. And then when the discussion moved to Chad and Lori's missing kids, that's where he states Melani had been told by Chad and Lori that their children had been possessed and had become zombies. She shared concerns that she's been told Brandon needed to die, and that may indicate that Tylee and JJ needed to die as well. She told me that she was worried that Al may have to take care of the kids, and take care in quotes. So, honestly, after reading this document, I'm more now leading towards that the kids are dead. I kept wavering back and forth.
Me too.
Like, oh, here's hope that they're just with some cult members. Here's hope that Tylee's married. I mean, not hope. This is a bad word to say, but hopefully she's still alive and she's just stuck with the cult, maybe got married off, and someone's going to save her eventually. But now it's just like, if they truly think that they were zombies and that they needed to take care of them, I don't think so. And I think that, yeah, Alex probably killed them, and then that's why Alex is dead too, so no one knows where they are.
How many believe in this? How long has this been going on for?
I don't know. I tried to Google zombies as far as like this type of zombie, not, everyday zombie. And I can't find much on it at all.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah.
But I have to agree. I think going into this, I was like 70-30 them being dead versus, possibly like stashed away somewhere. And now I'm more like 90-10.
I agreed. Yeah, the way that they handle their zombies, according to this, is they have to kill them. Like, they feel the need to have to get rid of them. And I think it was in something else, but we couldn't find anything else about it, saying that Melani did think that, or Melani was told about them becoming zombies or, whatever. But this is finally the court document, or submitted to the court, that confirms that. Now, it does talk about, too, afterwards, just how his ex-wife, Natalie, got a hold of, like, his mom and started getting worried about stuff after seeing what was going on, and how they didn't, talk very much after their divorce. But then here's kind of where it gets a little strange, too, or not so much strange, but just more complicated. They talk about how it's the Lord's plan. So, if shooting at Brandon was indeed based on the idea that he was no longer actually Brandon and needed to die as part of the Lord's plan, then the kids' lives could be forfeit based on the idea that they are not really Tylee and JJ anymore. So they definitely didn't think that they were their kids anymore. So I'm wondering, like, how did she treat them? Or is that why she was kind of like standoffish?
Lori?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, also, Melani, too. Melani made, apparently, the comment that we've already discussed. The children are, full of light until they just suddenly switch to the dark. And then here they are. And everything is kind of like the binary in this cult of dark and light, dark and light. Anything dark is Satan, it's satanic, it's Luciferian. And then anything light is, like, good, godly, and Chad Daybell. So just the fact that the zombie thing has been discussed in such depth and like what needed to happen to them. I mean, it's frightening.
Right. But then he also talks about the earthquakes, which I think is getting a lot of people uppity this week since there was that earthquake in Utah. But
yes,
There were shared ideas about earthquakes being prepared in SLC, and that it was believed that there would be a time when the quakes hit that many possessions would occur due to the high number of injured there. So, like, when you get injured or almost die, it sounds like, right, in that the other page, that you can turn into a zombie. So they're thinking, like, the earthquakes are creating a bunch of zombies because people are getting hurt.
But how do they judge it is my question. And then you go back to the stats part, right? Like how much goodness, your vibration, so on and so forth. But I want to know who is the judge,
right?
The jury and the executioner over whether you're a zombie or not.
The next sentence is what I'm super confused about. So Al and Zulema had stayed in Las Vegas and were preparing earthquakes at the time I spoke with the police. So what does preparing an earthquake mean?
I don't know. It's weird because I don't know how you can prepare an earthquake. I mean, do they believe that they control earthquakes? Because like last I checked, they don't. And it's the Wabash fault line that actually goes through Salt Lake City, just for a little information of why it happens. Every 10 years, Salt Lake City gets an earthquake typically, around that.
No, it was actually Alex and Zulema. You're welcome.
Yeah. I forgot that. I mean...
Yeah, but I don't understand that. I don't understand preparing earthquakes. Sure.
They're creating them or something. That's what it sounds like, preparing an earthquake. Are they preparing for an earthquake? His grammar is terrible. It literally gives me Tourette's.
Well, preparing the earthquake, I don't know if they mean it as they were making the earthquakes or they were preparing for the aftermath of the earthquakes, which would be a ton of zombies running around.
I think that they're, I mean, it's a prepping the people. I mean, they're preparing for the end of the days. So maybe they're preparing for an earthquake. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he has a lot of grammatical errors that change the context of which he is saying in a lot of this, and I had to correct it in my head.
I don't find that to be a grammatical error. I find that to be a terminology that they're using.
You think so?
Preparing earthquakes, yeah. But is it for or after? Who knows? We do not know as of yet.
Do they believe they control them? I mean, they did believe they're God, right? But they haven't said that in this, which is interesting.
Right. Well, then just so we don't have to read it all, he started working with police. He met with Lieutenant Ball and some of the FBI agents and basically told them what he knew. And he said Melani doesn't know who or why or any information about much. She has a couple ideas of what might have happened as far as the shooting and all of that, but she has no idea. She wasn't involved. So it goes into that, and then here's the part that kind of goes back to the discovery document. They gave me a recording device that looked like a thumb drive on my keychain. So he did get some recordings of Lori and Chad, but it sounds like he didn't get anything circumstantial, anything good to use.
I feel like he gave away a secret of the FBI.
So do I.
Now we all know that they don't use wires anymore, and it's just on a keychain.
Right. Well, then he helped them get into the garage when they were, going through Alex's stuff. And it's still weird. Yeah, it's weird to me that he calls him Al.
Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. I know it sounds silly. It just didn't connect that he was talking about Alex.
Yeah, I just don't see him as an Al. I feel like Al is super old.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like Al is more of an Albert.
Yeah, that's true.
Alex.
That's true. But anyways, yeah, he goes into basically how he helped the police and answered questions, and then how he ended up coming clean to Melani because he did this all behind her back.
Before he confessed to Melani, though, he downright goes off on Chad and Lori. I mean, he's 50 shades of what the fuck. Why don't you go to the police and, instead of doing this? Why, leave Melani here to clean up your mess and encourage her not to operate with the police? Why not, have her fight for her kids? Why not do this? He goes off on basically Chad and Lori and
this letter,
in this letter and what they basically did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically that she only had what if scenarios that she didn't know. And he, this document, like I said before, it seems like either he is out of the loop. He just married into this and is oh gosh, what did I marry into? Mm-hmm. Or this is just a great, easy way to clear him and Melanie's names. Mm-hmm. Or if she does go down, it still shows that he was just this outsider looking in.
What I found so interesting is, So aside from the very top half of the document, the most interesting piece in this letter for me is the very, very, very end when he says, a 20-year veteran FBI agent throwing a hissy fit after one shaky interview tells me all I would need to know about how they want to handle this.
Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't even look like his writing at
And
the end.
It seems like that has more of like, a female touch to it. And I hate to say that, but when you're in
Wally Lamb.
university going, even creative writing, they teach you the male and, how to recognize male and female, like, verbiage and whatnot. And that definitely has more of a female like touch to that sentence.
And the typing, there's a couple more like spacing errors in that last one that you don't see throughout the document. Not saying he just didn't say that, type it in anger or something. But the one thing that stood out to me too is like the third to last, where he says, "Isn't it odd that the two detectives assigned to the case happen to be two of Kane's Dark 50?"
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
So even he thinks this entire scenario is insane and sinister.
Right,
Wow.
right. So that is one of the most interesting documents I've read throughout this whole case. So again, we will post it. Take a look. Give us your thoughts on it. If we missed something or didn't highlight something, like tell us what you thought.
Yeah, please do. And again, our email is wesawthedevil@gmail.com. So the next interesting one is also released was just like one quick text message screen, supposedly from Ian to Natalie. Justin Lum, bless your heart, also posted this. And so it's Ian's text to his ex-wife Natalie concerning Melanie's knowledge of Brandon's attempted murder. So Ian supposedly texted and said, "Don't respond. I need you to encourage Brandon to keep info he gets on the down low until I can get this sorted out. I want to help, but it will be tough if everyone starts figuring out what I'm learning." She didn't know beforehand what was going to happen. They made the attempt, failed, and told her about it after the fact. I understand that he doesn't want the kids around her because of all of this, but I believe if she can see them, it will put a huge dent in her trust with her uncles. She's scared and had been told her two middle children are dead. She has a family court date on 12/11. I'm trying to get her to go. And then the next one is, I don't know if I can convince her to go to the family court hearing on Wednesday. I'm trying, but she, quote, got an answer last night from God himself. Her uncles have her so wrapped up. They're telling her she needs to move to Ammon. Is it Ammon? Ammon? That's not going to happen because I'm not going to leave Rexburg. They think it has something to do with jurisdiction. Dumbest thing ever. Don't respond. Just wanted to update you earlier because I had a quick second to call. Stay safe. What a doozy.
Right, and just don't reply. And then also, he's talking about Brandon, so that leads me to say that Natalie and Brandon have been talking, which is also really weird. Your new wife's ex-husband is talking to your ex-wife. Storyline with all these characters.
It's my understanding, right, that Ian met Melani, little creeped out what was going on. Then the media play happened, right? Like Lori, Chad, Charles Vallow died, the whole bit. He gives the computer over to Natalie, his ex-wife, and his ex-wife is literally like, what the fuck? They have children involved in this, right? With Melanie. So she starts doing research on this, and it's my understanding that Natalie contacted Brandon through one of his businesses.
Right.
I believe on Facebook. And apparently Brandon told her the entire side of his story. And so then Natalie contacted Ian's parents. Now, Ian apparently said that after he and Natalie got divorced, Natalie cut himself off from his entire family.
Right.
For like 8 months, apparently, since the time of the last court date. So Natalie, is like back and talking to his parents and now Ian. And they're all like really, really, really concerned for his safety.
Right. And yeah, they have kids together. So of course she's going to like background check and look at who her kids may be around. So it makes sense why she's like, whoa, wait a minute, you're involved in this? Like, first off, our kids need to be safe. And also you're an idiot for, getting involved in this.
That's like the worst nightmare.
I get it. I get why she's so involved lately. And yeah, why she'd be reaching out and helping Brandon to make sure his kids are also safe too.
All right. So There is a new document, actually, that just was released while we've been recording this.
10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago, this came out. The email was obtained is from December 4th, 2019, a week after the Rexburg police questioned Lori Vallow on the whereabouts of JJ and Tylee. And then that's when they discovered that Tylee had been missing too. This was just published by Justin Lum of Fox 10 Phoenix. And it is a document where Natalie Pawloski contacted an associate of Brandon Boudreaux trying to locate him, assuming what we've been discussing previously tonight. So her ex-husband had just married his ex-wife, right? So Ian just married Melani. Natalie said Melani told her ex Ian that a demon possessed Natalie's body and her spirit came to Melani in a vision or dream to tell her that. Natalie also wrote that she learned Melani was, quote, interrogated by police for 5 hours the day prior and told Ian that 2 of the officers were possessed with spirits of 2 of the original 12 disciples of Cain. What a mouthful. There's also mention of Melani allegedly saying Natalie's kids' spirits are full of light, but that can change at any moment. Does that sound familiar?
Scary.
I guess really quickly, we'll just go over this document. So again, this is from Natalie to one of Brandon's associates.
Right.
Hi, redacted. So I shared the information that you gave me and relayed it. And basically on their wedding night, she laid out the whole cult thing, but didn't say it was a cult. And he was just so confused, no doubt. Anyway, she told him that in March, a demon possessed my body and my spirit came to her in a vision or dream and told her this. She was interrogated by the police for 5 hours yesterday and told my ex that 2 of the police officers were possessed with the spirits of 2 of the original 12 disciples of Cain. She told him that my kids' spirits were full of light, but that can change basically at any moment. She has isolated him pretty badly. Like, she has driven him to work every day this week for one reason or another. Won't let him talk to his family, makes him listen to weird podcasts where he feels this pit in his stomach, but she tells him that there are light and dark weapons, and the bad feelings are the dark weapons. She said that in a past life, she was the niece of Jesus.
Oh, wow. They're all related to
Jesus,
angels. There's a lot.
Yeah. She says, look, my ex is not the best person in the world, but I am legitimately scared for my own life and my kid's life and my ex's. I heard something about a missing person that she may be involved in. I don't know the details on that one. I have literally no idea what to do. I think he is planning on going to the police for some help. I'm thinking she might blame me and come after me. I mean, if she's convinced that I'm a demon and God tells her to kill me, I could end up another missing person case. He is terrified that he asked me to take away the kids on his weekend, which is next weekend, because he doesn't want them around her. He has never done that ever. He said that she didn't want me learning her last name because I would contact her ex-husband and he would tell me that that quote, she tried to kill him and she's in a cult. Well, I've never seen anyone so terrified. He told me to look up the names Alex Cox and Chad Daybell. I'm so sorry for dragging you into this, but I have no idea what to do. Can you get this email to the right people? Have them help us? Have us help them? I don't know. Thanks, Natalie Pawloski.
Oh, poor Natalie. Can you imagine, though, your kids, after missing kids occurred, your kids being with these same crazy people?
Mm-hmm. Not really. That's really hard for me to imagine.
That's so incredibly sad.
And also, like, that they still had weekends. After hearing all this, wouldn't you be like, well, kids aren't coming back to you ever again?
Yeah.
You can see them when you alone come over with a cop.
Mm-hmm. That is just so incredibly sad. Good for her for trying, though. Like, she and Nancy drew this.
Yeah, Natalie's my favorite of the characters now.
Yes, mine too.
Now that you know, this web, can you imagine now that we're adding, more about Ian and Natalie and all of them, just the web of people. I don't know if you've been seeing all of the like family trees and pictures of everyone and how they're connected and just how many times like the line goes to each person.
No, that's crazy. There's so many people. And just when I think, okay, we've completed the cast of characters, there's no way that there can be someone else like really intimately involved with us. And another person pops up out of the
Jumps right in.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking about Melani and her, new husband quite a bit. So speaking of Melani and Brandon, there was another court doc that came out this week as well, and it's the father's response to mother's motion to hold the petitioners in contempt for his misleading and false statement made to the court. So a couple it's a basic document. It's not very long, but there is a couple pages and a couple pictures this time. It basically says that the father is not disclosing all of his evidence at this time because it can impede on the ongoing investigation. So father continues to believe that the mother played a part in the attempt on his life. Mother picked up in the middle of the night, leaving all of the kids' belongings on the sidewalk outside of her home and moved to Idaho to live next door to her aunt, Lori Vallow. So this is just kind of going back to when Melani just up in, that one text we talked about a few episodes ago where she's like, get the kids childcare because I'm not going to be there. Now here's the big kicker. Mother had remarried merely weeks after leaving Arizona, and that she is now pregnant with her new husband.
Oh, drama.
As Rexburg turns.
Right. Poor Ian. You are stuck to this woman now.
Poor Natalie.
Yeah, poor Natalie. Poor
That's
Natalie.
just-
You're right. So there's pictures too in this one that just shows all of the kids' stuff in like garbage bags, and literally it looks like a mattress that says free. There's like a little, it's hard to see printed out, but all of her kids' stuff was just like thrown on the curb, and she's like, I'm out of here, going to Rexburg.
Peace.
Yeah. That came out, and then also when Melani applied for the U-Haul truck, said that she was moving to BYU, Idaho, student housing, which obviously we all know that wasn't it. And when they left, I told Robin I was upset. I was like, they left on Halloween.
How dare they? That's a federal holiday.
That is. So
That's like my second birthday.
the private investigator caught them packing a truck late on 10/31, and then it has their basically their Allegiant tickets to go to Rexburg or Idaho Falls technically. And I was like remarking, I've taken that same journey now, same airport, same everything.
And then also we didn't mention the lease. So Melanie Boudreau, poor Melanie's had a shit week this week. So Melanie Boudreau's lease for the townhouse at the Pioneer Road, right? Where Lori and Chad also lived, her lease was produced publicly. So with her lease, she paid in, over $1,000, and it listed on her lease, her, Brandon, and their 3 children, which we all know she went and moved up and moved to Rexburg with no intention of bringing Brandon or the children.
Well, and I still think too, about the children thing, that text message forever ago, it's not completely open. It says like to open the message to read more. So like we don't know what she said in that text message. I have not seen that full text message anywhere yet. So I don't know if it's, hey, I'm moving here, find childcare, blah, 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 blah. But also I do want the kids, so we need to work that out. We don't know how she ended that text.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But I mean, her putting free on the kids' stuff doesn't help her at all.
No, it does not.
And yeah, there's pictures of their stuff on the street and a little sign that says free on a cardboard sign. So
yeah, it's true. It's crazy. It is all like absolutely just insane. So Lise, Melanie's had a real bad week. So after this, alrighty. So stopping right there, that's just the documentation that's come out this last week.
Right.
So a lot. Some pieces. I feel truly this has been the most exciting week of this case. I feel like things are really starting to fall in place. Just to kind of recap, it seems like Chad is not the leader of the entire cult unit. It appears like Chad is like the leader of their one group, right? Part of a greater whole. So
healing and music.
healing and music, right? This group. And apparently there are many groups all over the world. So that's a little fucking concerning. I feel like this is turning into a very bad horror movie. Yeah, there's light in the dark. The zombies, I think, is probably the most poignant point this week. Important because that sheds a lot of light on what the potentially the fates of JJ and Tylee. So much stuff, but let's move on to Jackie, yours and Amanda's trip to Rexburg. I stayed home at Man Command Center, answered emails, watched a zoo of animals. And so
you mean eat hot Doritos and ranch?
Eat hot Doritos and ranch. Don't knock it till you try it. And
not wear pants.
Yeah.
Well, we had to wear pants and walk around Rexburg. Yeah. So, after going there, I will say it was an eye-opening trip. Just understanding how close everything happened, and then also understanding the city as a whole. Because until you're there, you don't know how much people are intertwined in that city. Just talking to one person, I mean, we talked to several people. So we had a handful of interviews while we were there. And, a lot of them either grew up there or moved there. And everyone knows everyone somehow. Or if they don't know that person directly, their neighbor knows them somehow. Or, they know everything about everyone. And it's just so different from where I come from, coming from a big city where I'm like, I don't know the person two doors down. I have no idea what their name is. But this one's like, I know the person two doors down and I know their mother went here and then their cousin goes here. And oh my gosh, it was a lot to take in. What do you think, Jackie?
I thought it was interesting. I think that a small town life is not a life for me. That's for sure. But
right.
I did find that there was a lot of farmland. There's a lot of land to be had there. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want space, you want to be like alone, you can do it. But it does seem like the university is a big draw for a lot of people, especially like of the Mormon faith. And I did notice that the highway is a direct line from Salt Lake City to, like Idaho Falls and Rexburg for the freeway and stuff. So I can see how that would be a natural progression for people, like as a migration pattern. I did find that talking to the locals would be very insightful. I do find that our conversations and the questions I had that needed to be answered about like the Mormon religion in general. So because it just seems like that there is a lot of like secret, like it's almost like a secret society to me. Mm-hmm. For some of the information, because you can read it online, but it just doesn't add up like in the same way. So it was very insightful, and I do think that it was really cool to see the orientation and like the spatial awareness that you gain from being there and seeing what it's like to live a daily life in the shoes of one of these people, especially like Lori Vallow. I mean, she went from Gilbert, Arizona, which is a huge city. Right. Phoenix is huge and all the suburbs are huge. And like, especially in comparison to this, going from such a big life to such a like small town, like a college town. College towns are usually pretty small. And this is like right before, Rexburg's right before one of the few larger stops before West Yellowstone.
Yes.
So tourism does happen there a little bit, not like, like Livingston or Bozeman, Montana before the park, but it has a little bit of that feel, almost like a railroad feel, like railroad town, but without the railroads. So, there's a lot of farming and a lot of different like insight. It's interesting because a lot of rural America has like a little bit of an education problem. And this town doesn't seem to have much of an education problem as it does with like you have a lot of cows. So it's actually, I don't know, it was really fucking it was really cool. And I did love just experiencing like the different architecture of the place too.
Right. And I think there was actually a railroad now that you say it.
Maybe.
There was, I think, along the highway, maybe. I'll have to... I wasn't focused on that, let's just say that. But I thought that there was at some point. But yeah, once we went there, we tried to visit basically all of the places of interest in this case. So we did attend the hearing and just the layout of even just like the courthouse is very strange to me. How there's a courthouse, there's like the women's detention center and the men's detention center. And then also there's like this little law office right there too. So like you can do it all in one.
You can get your driver's license too.
And then you have to like go to this like back window door thing to get your driver's license. We didn't go to that part. We were just in the courthouse, but from talking to the locals, they kind of one of them nicely drew us a map of the inside of it and was showing us like when you do your marriage certificate or when you go to get your driver's license, like everything happens in this little square.
We saw people going to get married.
Right? I think they were actually getting their new driver's license or something with their new name maybe. But yeah, people were walking up with their like marriage certificates and stuff, all excited. And I'm like, all of this happens in this one little area, and that's just so different.
Get arrested. You can go to court. You can get your driver's license. You can submit a death certificate, a birth certificate, get a social security card.
Everything.
Yeah, you can do everything. I mean, that is necessary for life.
Yep. So we went there. That was a little crazy. We did visit Kennedy Elementary School, so that's JJ's last whereabouts. And
they need to fix their marquee.
Yeah, their marquee is messed up. But we did notice that there are cameras all over it. So there are cameras in like the front parking lot. It was very, very close to Lori's apartment, just a few minutes away. So Lori, Melani, and Alex, as we all know, lived in the same, I don't know if you call them condos, apartments, whatever, but they were all the same. And just being there for me at least gave me a better picture of how the three of them lived in the same area. Just knowing, their apartment numbers, you have no idea how close everything is. And Lori and Melanie's is literally next door. And then we got to see where the camera was, the one across from their apartment that captured JJ playing. Just to kind of get a feel for how they were. And then we did walk over, and it's just like one little area away. It's super close though. Their apartment numbers are very vast. Like Alex's is 107, Melanie's 174, and then Lori's is 175. But his is literally just on the other side. It would take a minute to walk from his front door to Lori's. So they were very, very close.
And he didn't have any furniture in his apartment, like, at any point. So he was clearly somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think he actually stayed there. There's someone that already lives in his old apartment, actually.
Oh, wow,
window
really?
Open. Yeah. Please don't think we're creepers.
We were trying not to be creepy.
Yeah. But just knowing, getting a feel for how they lived, without seeing or being there, I interpreted their complex a little differently. Like, I've seen pictures and everything, of course, but no one talked about where Alex's was in comparison. So just little things like that was nice to, like, actually see.
Oh, yes.
We did go to the self-storage, and that's kind of, I don't want to call it the outskirts, but it's, like, on this road where you're kind of, like, led away from everything. So it would have been easy to take things back and forth without really being noticed. I know there are security cameras. Obviously, there are security cameras.
Yeah.
But I just feel like without a person interfering. Would you agree with me, Jackie, when we drove over there?
It's very small, too.
Mm-hmm. Everything about it was just odd going over there. We didn't know her storage unit number, but just the way that it was situated now, it was very easy for them to go in and out. And especially because hers was right next to one of the doors too. They didn't have to carry stuff very long.
Most storage units are gated in. This one is completely open. Like, you can just drive past a U-Haul facility and you're right there. Mm-hmm. And it's completely open. Usually there's a security gate and you have to check in through the front or something. Not in this situation. You can just go in and out as you please.
Yeah. And I've seen both. I've seen both that you have to check in, and I've seen some that you can just walk in. But this one just seemed almost like deserted. Like, at least the ones that I've been to in the past, people are like, oh, who's this coming in? Or at least noticed. No one cared that we were, like, looking around there. So
yeah, we could have.
That's at least the vibe that I understood. I don't know if we went at a weird time, because I think we went there on, I want to say Friday. But yeah, there wasn't much going on. Very easy to slip in and out. Now, we did also drive by Chad's house just to get a feel for his area as well. And I did send some videos to Robin just to help her understand, too, how big his block is. So he does have neighbors kind of around him, like in front of him, and they're all kind of off to the side. But like his area is huge.
Huge.
And one thing, Robin, if you want to bring up the paintball thing.
Yeah. So one particular question I've had, right? So Tammy Daybell, 2 weeks before she died overnight in her sleep, quote unquote, she reported pulling into her driveway after going shopping at the grocery store, and she was getting out of her car getting out of her van, and a masked person with a paintball gun tried to shoot at her. And she said she had her frozen dinners in her hand and called for Chad. And then this masked person ran off behind the house. Mm-hmm. So every video, every picture, everything I've seen, of Chad's house has huge open spaces behind it, like where the backyard would be. Right. And so if someone were to go behind his house, I just don't know where this masked person could have gone unless he had like a car waiting on the little street. Mm-hmm. But like there's no reason to run behind. Right. Because those blocks are gigantic. And like some of his neighbors like on the next block have cattle, and we drove a little bit just to get a feel for the area. And it's very, very spacious. It was just like fields of snow. Again, I don't know where that person was going when she says it disappeared. I mean, unless she was at a weird angle to her house, but I know she mentioned front of the house. But behind it, if you're trying to get away, I just feel like that would be the wrong direction to run. Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of what I wanted you guys to verify for me is why would she say he ran off behind the house? And that was in the Facebook message that Tammy left on like a local neighborhood thing. Yeah. Is that he ran off behind the house. So to me, I was like, okay, but like, wouldn't you be able to see him running for quite a while? Like it seemed like it was pretty open. Right. Exactly. And just while we were there too, we did just everywhere we went. We even went to one of the little coffee shops. I want to say it was called June's Place. I can look though real quick.
Yes, it was.
June's Place? Okay. Yeah. But we went to like a little coffee shop at June's Place, and like just even talking to the woman working there, she was like, oh yeah, was it her boyfriend or fiance? Yeah, her boyfriend. I'm not going to name her, but she's like, yeah, my boyfriend went to school with the Daybell kids. And she's like, they weren't friends by any means, but like he knows all of them. I was just like, wow, like just everyone in this town knows someone involved with this case somehow, or at least, one of their friends or neighbors or whatnot know someone involved. So it's just very, very small place. So also a few of the locals were super nice and met with us and educated us on not only the town, just the school there. Someone, taught us about the Mormon church, and we met with a lot of people. Now, some of their names, they wish to remain anonymous, and some were okay with us using their names. So a couple of them, I have changed their names by what they asked me to change it to. So one couple we met with, Bonnie and Clyde is what they'd like to go by. They were very sweet, and we got to sit down and ask them anything we wanted about the Mormon faith and just understand it a little bit more. So I was very appreciative of them dealing with my silly questions and trying to understand it. The nice thing about them is Chad's extended family lives in their congregation. So when they go to their church, they have a lot of Chad's family members that also attend church with them. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that they told us is around February, Chad's brother was teaching a Sunday school class and basically discussed his brother's actions and choices. He expressed that he loves his brother still, but he's being misled in his beliefs. So, yeah, I mean, for him to make an entire class about it or, stand up and go, I am related to this, but I'm not part of it. That is his own thing. He's doing his own thing and he's being misled.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that they took the time out of a church day to talk about that. He taught us too, Bonnie and Clyde. They taught us about how there's one prophet and kind of their beliefs. And then I showed him the 7 missions that Chad had sent to Lori.
Oh, and yes, please tell.
I very much wanted his thoughts on it, what he interpreted from it. And we kind of went through each one, and ultimately, he just said it sounds like he's making his own church. And it's very similar to how their faith was started in a sense, not much. I don't want to like misspeak because again, I'm no expert on what Mormons believe in. I'm trying to learn though. But as far as the 7 missions, he just took it as basically each step he wanted to do to create his own church was his thoughts on it. So one of the last things we talked about too is one of their neighbors brought up Tammy to them and just how shocked she was to hear that Tammy had passed, and said that she was just at a Relief Society activity, which is when the women meet. And she was just at the activity and was perfectly healthy and everything was fine when they talked. So again, shocked. Everyone's talking about Tammy's death and how shocked they are.
So sad.
Yeah, like one day they described her as one day just not showing up, and one day she's there, next day she's just not, and it's very sad.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a couple of the other people we met with, Elizabeth was super helpful. She basically gave us more of a feel of the town again, and talked about what brought her there. And it seems like a lot of people, like Jackie said earlier, come because of school, and then they end up staying for, different reasons for all of them. But school mainly brings a lot of the younger ones there. She gave us her thoughts on the case, and it was interesting, hearing from a local how they perceive things and what they think happened in certain situations, because all we can rely on is, Google Maps and pictures and other people's accounts. But being there and hearing from someone that actually lives there, they have an entirely different thought process. She knew a couple different things I hadn't heard before, so she told me about Chad's kids a little bit more. One is a teacher at the junior high school, by the way. How she thinks a lot of the people, a lot of the rumors online are Mesa Falls is where the kids were disappeared, but she said that it's so busy there most of the time that it probably didn't happen there. She gave us a couple places to visit, so thank you for all those. One of Chad's neighbors is a cake maker, and I've seen her cakes, and they're absolutely beautiful.
She has, just a side note, the most beautiful Harry Potter cake I've ever seen.
Yes,
she belongs on Food Network. I would just like to say, if you're listening, Chad Daybell neighbor, if you're listening, you are the bomb.
Right. I loved it. But I guess she's ordered cakes from her before, so she's been in that area. I don't think she had met Chad before, but just she's been to his next door neighbor's house to pick up a cake, from what I understand. Now, this is one story that she gave me that without knocking on every neighbor's door by Chad, I cannot talk to the neighbor themselves. But again, this is a local story that's been going around about Julie Rowe. So Julie Rowe approached one of Chad's neighbors about buying their house. She said God told her that she needed to buy this house, and she needed it because of a location of a certain window. So I guess from what the neighbors had told someone, and I won't use their name or anything, but that Julie Rowe knocked on their door, basically said, like, I need to buy this house. And they tried to explain to her, well, it's not for sale. You can't just walk into someone's house and say you want to buy it. It's been in their family for a while, I guess. And Julie's like, no, you don't understand. God told me I need to buy this house. And the only thing I could think of is, about a window. Maybe she wanted to just spy on Chad.
I mean, this is all speculation, right?
Right.
So, I truly believe if you look at videos that Julie Rowe did, say, like, a year or two ago, right? It's very clear that she was trying to ride, like, in on Chad's, like, I can't say coattails, because apparently Julie Rowe was more popular and more well-known than Chad Daybell. Mm-hmm. However, she liked Chad. She liked Chad a lot.
You can tell, yeah.
Like, yeah. So, like, I feel like she may have had, like, romantic feelings for him and was trying to,
get closer.
And I call her this every episode, but Julie Rowe is a crazy bitch. So it would not surprise me that she was like, I need this house for this window. The portal will open in this window.
Right.
I don't know.
Do you think she was part of the veil too? Do you think she was half in the veil, half in reality?
She's not in reality at all.
No.
She's lost in the veil, people.
Well, Julie too, she did a video that I had seen where I don't know who she's talking to. She's in the car, though. For some reason, everyone's in the car. And she's talking about how she's like, a lot of people online say that I liked Chad and I wanted Chad. And she's like, I am happily married.
My God.
I was like, that's your last worry if people think you have a crush on some guy.
Yeah, that's the least of your worries based on like things that she has said in the past.
Yeah. Well, just who knows? I mean, that just sounds like something she could have done. And there's not very many neighbors either, just for how big everything is. So I don't know which one it is, but you know, knocking on everyone's door going, hey, did this happen? Just did not sound polite.
No, it seemed a little invasive considering that it probably already happened several times over.
I believe, from what I understand, the neighbors were talking when his house was being raided and searched and were concerned. And then they're like, oh, by the way, this happened to someone else. And then that's kind of how the story got out there. So interesting, though. I thought that was one of my favorite stories from our Rexburg trip because it just shows how freaking crazy Julie Rowe is.
Which, surprise!
But I really enjoyed talking with her and just getting to sit down and, again, ask questions. And I love that everyone was super open, you know, because some people can get their feelings hurt or, you know, kind of put their walls up, you know, when an outsider's trying to understand something. And everyone was just super open and sweet and understanding of our questions. So thank you. Another couple of people that I met with, Brooke and David, and they are the owners of Perf Sherf Parlor. Sorry if I butchered that, but they have a hair salon, and it seems very popular. I've looked. I mean, I have them on Facebook and everything. Super cute. But those two were so nice. I guess from what I understand, she had a couple Instagram chats going in regards to the case because she put something on her story. And a ton of people were super interested in it, so she started making chats. And the way that I understand her chats is it sounds like it's like the Christmas Misery group on Facebook, but in chat form. So people will be like, you know, from Rexburg or all over the country, but locals are going, hey, did you hear this? Hey, I heard this from this. So again, it could be through the game of telephone. But she sent me, she was super nice and airdropped me a couple texts and documents and all kinds of fun stuff that I got to look through and try to figure out. Now, there was some of them talk about Tammy being a zombie, one of the documents she sent me, and how they believe Tammy was part of it. And I know we'll save some of the stories for later, but I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, just a lot of the things that she's been doing is kind of like mediating these chats. And she only can have so many people in each one, and they're filling up super fast. Okay, so a couple other like little tidbits of information that they were able to give me is she showed me some of the Facebook profiles, which again, when you're friends of friends, you get to see more stuff too. So both her and Elizabeth were able to do this for me. Show me a couple Facebook profiles so I could understand kind of the weird web of people. And then also the LDS of Vallow Facebook. I don't know why I never thought to look them up on Facebook, but that is something you guys can look up too and see just how much is in there. One story she had told me too is that another neighbor, I don't know which one this one is too, neighbor of Chad had lived there like 6-7 years, I believe. They had a baby, and it sounds like they had more kids as well. And Tammy offered to babysit via text and said, you know, if you need help with the baby or the older kids, I'm happy to help. And then Tammy died a few days later. So again, just another, oh my gosh, we can't believe Tammy died. She was so healthy. She was so, you know, she was okay. And just for anyone that doesn't have, you know, kids out there, you do not offer to watch someone's new baby if you are even feeling the least bit sick.
Yeah.
So that just tells me, because she was a mother, she was fine in offering to, you know, watch a newborn. So another story just saying like Tammy seemed perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they shared some things with me like that. They were very, very sweet and, again, open to questions. So just everyone that we met there was the nicest people. So, again, thank you for your guys' time. I loved talking with all of you.
And I would like to thank them as well for their time and effort. And I would like to apologize to one of them for not being able to eat, that we asked them so many questions and they didn't eat their food. So I know that was cold.
So yeah, thank you everyone. I wish I could have met you. Thank you for communicating, those who reached out to me, and then I was able to set you up with Amanda and Jackie while they were there. But I'm really excited to hear more of the stories, and we will be having pictures, videos, all of those good things coming out on our YouTube as well as on our website. So right. Stay tuned for that. And again, if you're on Patreon, then you're going to get some extra special content.
Yes, we'll be reviewing some more stories that we heard right in Rexburg.
Mm-hmm. So again, it's 10:30 Pacific Standard Time now on March 19th. And this is the latest information that has been released. So I believe we are currently up to date. Again, thank you for listening. Find our social medias at We Saw the Devil on Twitter and Facebook, We Saw the Devil Podcast on Instagram, and check out our Patreon. And until next crime.